Hello again and welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio. I'm Dave, and in this video I want to talk a bit about vibrato and string bending and ways you can use that in a blues context. So when we talk about vibrato, what we're doing is we're playing a note and just bending the string ever so slightly to change the pitch. There's two vibrato techniques. There's a classical guitar vibrato technique and there's one that's more suitable for electric. I'll be talking about, obviously, because I'm playing electric guitar, the way we would approach a vibrato on an electric. And basically it's a very, very slight string bend. So I could play a note, but if I just play that and it just rings out, it's like, it just drones away. It's a little bit hard on the ear. If you're going to sustain a note for any length of time, it's nice to just soften it by changing the pitch and putting a bit of vibrato on there. What I'm doing there is just bending the string up and down ever so slightly, repeatedly, to give you a bit of variation in pitch, just ever so slightly increasing the tension and then releasing it, doing that repeatedly, and it gives you that nice soft vibrato technique, and it softens the sound a bit and just makes it a bit more pleasing on the ear. And that's something you can use all sorts of different styles, where you've got a long sustained note. My preference is to have that that bit of vibrato there, just to make it a bit easier on the ear. Now, closely related to this technique is the technique of string bending, where you take a note and you raise its pitch to another note by bending the string, adding a significant amount more tension. So for vibrato, you can just generally do it with one finger. String bending, you need to get behind the note a bit more, multiple fingers, so you've got your fretting finger, but you've got the fingers behind also pushing the string, thumb over the top of the neck to give you a bit of leverage. And so there I'm taking a D and raising the pitch up to an E, taken up by two semitones, much more than that vibrato where it's a tiny increase in pitch. This is about moving from one note to the other. And you hear this, again, you hear this technique in all sorts of different styles of music, but you hear it a lot in blues type of music. So there, a bit of string bending and a bit of vibrato. Now, if you're new to guitar, you might find techniques like string bending are quite difficult, because you really do need a lot of strength in your hands, and you get your fingers to push the strings. It takes a fair bit of force. I mean, a guitar string at full tension, there's many pounds of tension in that string. So for you to try and bend it, your hand's not at a natural angle. I've said this before about playing guitar. It's a really weird way actually to hold your hand. It's probably your non-dominant hand as well, because right-handed guitar players tend to fret with the left hand. So everything's stacked up against you. So string bending, if you first get into it, is a little bit difficult, but if you persevere, you'll get to grips, if you pardon the pun, with the technique, and you'll be able to control your bends, target pitches more easily. Personally, I find this quite easy, because when I first started playing guitar, I didn't understand string gauges, and I started playing guitar with 12s or possibly even 13s on an electric. It was insanely heavy strings, but because I mastered the technique with very heavy strings, when I saw sense and started playing like 9s or 10s, much lighter strings, the strings just felt like they were all over the place, and I really had to rein my technique back and play with a much lighter touch. So consequently, when I pick up a guitar and I start playing, I just find it really easy and really natural to bend strings and use vibrato, because I just don't feel a whole lot of resistance from the strings. It's just something, the way my technique evolved. Now, I talked about using string bending and vibrato at the start in the context of blues. So it's something I wanted to show you, which is a really useful thing to think about when you're playing blues. When we think about blues, we think about the minor pentatonic. There's a few different scales which lend themselves really well to blues, but the one that people tend to focus on the most is the minor pentatonic, or the minor blues scale. The one that goes from 1, flat 3, 4, flat 5, that's a blue note, 5, flat 7, and the octave. The thing with blues though is there's a very sort of major minor sort of duality to it. Now that scale there, that's a minor pentatonic with a flat 5. It's a minor type of scale. It's got a flat 3rd degree in it, an interval of 3 semitones between the root and the flat 3rd degree. That works over a major chord that's got a natural 3rd. Yeah, it's just, that's the thing about the blues, is it's a major minor thing. And there's a few different scales we can use for blues, but just thinking about that minor pentatonic flat 5, that minor blues scale, what you could do is introduce a major 3rd into it and kind of accentuate the major feel a little bit. Still have the blues scale sort of feel, but with a natural 3rd in it. So just think of a really simple phrase, so something like, so go from a root to a flat 3rd to a root, down to the flat 7, back to the root. So that flat 7 is giving us the minor type of feel, because it's the flat 7 from the minor scale, and we've also got the flat 3rd, which is the as I said, is a minor, very minor tone. How about if instead of playing the flat 3rd, we played a natural 3rd? Different sort of sound, isn't it? It's happy, it's much more upbeat, but it's still got that flat 7th in there, so it's got a bluesy sort of sound. Point of the video is about string bending and vibrato. You can make this a bit more interesting by adding some vibrato into the mix. So on the flat 3rd, rather than just playing the note as it is, play the note with some vibrato. Yeah, so it just softens it off a little bit. What if we took that a little bit further, and rather than just varying the pitch slightly on that flat 3rd, we actually bend the note up by a semitone. Now, the way that I'm fingering this, I'm playing the flat 3rd with my index finger. I said before, if you're bending notes, it's good to have fingers behind your fretting finger to give you a bit of extra support. We're only going to be bending one semitone though, so there's not as much effort involved. I've still got my thumb over the top of the neck to give me a bit of leverage. And like I said, I've got pretty strong fingers, so I find this easy. You may struggle, don't strain yourself, but with practice you can do it. So what we're going to do is play the flat 3rd still, but bend it up to the sound of the natural 3rd. Yeah, so that gives you that real major minor tonality. You're getting the root note, you're getting the flat 3rd, and you're getting the natural 3rd. So that's something to think about when you're playing in a blues context. Instead of just getting stuck in the rut of playing minor pentatonic, minor blues scale type licks, think about adding the natural 3rd in there as well. Keep the flat 3rd, but add the natural 3rd in as well. It just accentuates that major minor tonality that the blues has, and it gets you out of the rut of just playing minor blues type of licks. Makes things sound a little bit more interesting. And don't forget the value of adding a bit of vibrato just to make things a bit more interesting. Okay, hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please click the like button down there if you really enjoyed it and you want to see other videos that I post on the channel, and please click subscribe, which is also down there somewhere, and click that bell icon so you get notified of any other videos that I post on the channel. You're welcome to leave a comment, but I don't always get notified by YouTube when people comment on videos, so if there's something specific you want to ask me, whether it's about guitar playing, music theory, guitar gear, anything at all, you're better off going here, fill that form in, send your question in, that way it comes direct to me. I'm guaranteed to see it and get around to answering your question in a future video. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.